Sean and I love this premise of this show. For those who have no idea what we're even doing here, what Honor of Kings is all about, basically, a short synopsis is we look at books that have been removed throughout time in different canons, and we read them, we study them, we put them on the screen, and we have a dialogue about them. And then I think by the end of several episodes, depending on how long we go through a certain book, we come to the determination as to whether or not something should be considered scripture, or perhaps it should be, given a thumbs down. So last episode, we went through the book of Adam and Eve, the first 10 chapters of it. And it didn't take very long, Sean, did it, to see that book has got some issues.
That's right. Yeah, we quickly started seeing some theological contradictions, and then we also ran into a failed prophecy, which is kind of rough. That immediately disqualifies a book, in our opinion, according to Deuteronomy 13, also Deuteronomy 18.
When it comes to certain texts that just don't pass the test, we got to be clear cut about it. And so we just, that's kind of the premise of this show, right? Yeah,
absolutely. We would hate to, and I know what you meant when you said objective, because that's our goal, is to come to this with a completely unbiased view. But at the same time, the only subjectivity we bring to this is that we're testing these things against what we do consider actual scripture already. So if we were just trying to test it against some other arbitrary standard, then it could be considered truly biased. But the only bias we have is the actual canon of 66 that we've all been reading our whole lives in the United States, or the North American hemisphere, which is part of what we consider the Protestant Canon of 66. So that's what we're doing, is taking these books and seeing if they line up. In order to do that, you have to know what the Protestant Canon of 66 says, as far as what it teaches, to know if something contradicts theologically, or if there is a litmus test for prophecy. And that litmus test is explained in the Canon of 66 in Deuteronomy. And any prophet that claims to have a prophecy of something that's going to happen and it doesn't come to pass, then that person is considered a false prophet. That work, or that writing, or that passage, whatever is making that claim that doesn't come to pass, in that, from that point on, there's a serious problem, because they're not getting their inspiration from the Father, and therefore they shouldn't be listened to, as Deuteronomy 18 talks about.
Agreed. And you mentioned the Protestant canon, Sean. For those who don't know and aren't very familiar with the idea of canonization and what has existed throughout the past several hundred years, we've got different traditions across the earth. We've got the Western tradition, Eastern Orthodox tradition, the Oriental Orthodox tradition, the Syrian Eastern tradition, and even the Judaism's own tradition. And built underneath the subsets of those headings are many denominations that have their own canons. And so Sean mentioned the Protestant canon. That's the one that I grew up with here in Canada. Sean is obviously familiar with the Protestant canon as well, being in America, and a lot of our viewers are from America, but I mean, North America in general is a lot of what we see on our channels with people watching us. But that's the canon that we're used to and we've grown up with. And the common thread throughout all the canons is the first 5 books at least. And as Sean mentioned, in Deuteronomy, there's a test that's mentioned. And so that's kind of the ground, the foundation that we use to test all other books in all the other canons that have differing opinions regarding what books should be in and what should be out. So that at least we have a solid foundation of, because I don't know about you, Sean, but I've been asked, like, how do you know that the 66 books are even a good foundation to test it on? Well, at least what we call the Old Testament. And even some of those books aren't even in some canons, but that is the solid foundation on which we know we can build and look at other texts with.